Our Parish President Cynthia Sheng is giving an update on hurricane and storm preparations.
I have with me, and I'm honored to have with me, our chairman for our Jefferson Parish Council, Chairman Ricky Templett, along with our councilman at large for Division B, Scott Walker, our councilwoman for District 5, Jennifer Van Rankin, along with many others who are going to speak today, our Director of Emergency Management, Mr. Joe Valiente, our Jefferson Parish School Superintendent, Dr. James Gray, our Director of Public Works, Mark Drews, our Director of Drainage, Mitch Terrio. We are also honored to be with Entergy, Mr. Patrick Hamby, as well as our Public Service Commissioner, Mr. Eric Scrametta. From the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West, we have Nick Calley, as well as Scott Burke, who is the board president. Our Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East, we're joined by Antoine Harris. And as well as our first responder contingency, our Chief of East Bank Consolidated Fire Department, Chief Dave Tibbetts, and our Director of the West Bank Fire Services, Brian Adams. So with that, we will say that the forecast since yesterday has not been good for us. This storm has shifted west, which is, of course, more problematic for us, especially as it relates to storm surge and our lower lying areas of Grand Isle, Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point, as well as the Lake Pontchartrain area. So we're expecting storm surge, we're expecting rain and flash flooding. With the wind, the high winds that we're expecting, we will have power outages that we should be expecting, as well as minor structural problems and fallen trees that may block roadways. Yesterday, I signed an emergency declaration at about 6:45, 7:45 timeframe, so that was submitted yesterday. As of this morning, Grand Isle is under a mandatory evacuation as of 9 a.m. this morning. Also, Mayor Lafitte, we've been in communication with throughout the day. There will be a mandatory evacuation for the Lafitte area, as well as all those lower lying areas, Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point, starting tomorrow at noon. Tomorrow at noon for Lafitte. Mitch and Mark will give more detail, but in Jefferson Parish, we have 192 pumps, 71 pump stations. We enter, like we did the last storm, at 100% capacity. So kudos to them and all the maintenance they've been doing. So we're entering this threat at 100% pumping capacity. Today, we are out doing those things that we do, clean catch basins, flushing drain lines, all of those items. 2020 has been a difficult year for all of us. I know we're tired, we're weary, and that's what I want to talk about today. That doesn't matter. What happened in the past doesn't matter. We handle every threat the same. We go through the preparations. You cannot say, I'm tired of this, I don't want to do it. We all live in a dangerous area for storms. This is the height of our season. We need to do whatever it takes to deal with the storm and the threat in front of us. It does not matter what happened in the past. It does not matter what kind of year we've had, because that doesn't determine. We need to be as prepared as we can for the threat ahead of us, and that's certainly the position we're taking in the parish, and I want to stress that's the position that we all should be taking. I know we're tired. We had a full year dealt with us. It doesn't matter. We still have a major threat in front of us. We need to do all those things that we've done, even though we've just done them. We still need to do them, okay? So citizens should be preparing. We want our drainage system. We have invested a lot of money in our drainage system, but it's to move water. It does not move debris. It does not move leaves. If that stuff is in the system, then it can't move as much water. So we need you to clear those catch basins out, take that debris, put it in the garbage. Do not shove it down that system. We want to give our drainage system the best chance as we can, as all of us have invested in, all of us as taxpayers have invested in, to move the water as quickly as possible. We want to remove the loose limbs on our trees. We want to bring in all our outside furniture. Mine's already in. I didn't take mine back outside. It's in from last time. Hopefully that's the case for many of you all. Tie down your loose items. Bring in your garbage bins and recycling. We will have service if your service, which was scheduled tomorrow, that will resume, and they're going to be out there until weather permits. So after they pick up tomorrow, then bring those bins in, okay? Do your errands today. So when this happens, we can all stay off the street. Go get your water, your food, your medication, your pet supplies. We might, and Entergy's here along with Mr. Scrametta, we might have some outages. Have your batteries and your flashlights ready. So all those things that we know how to do. What concerned me when I listened to the weather briefing this morning is that they were very clear to say that this is a slower than normal storm. So that's not good for us. We like storms to move through quickly. It is a slower than normal storm, and what's critical there is if we have banding that hovers over us in a slow-moving storm, that is a much higher risk of flash flooding, roads being inundated with water. We have open canals, many open canals in Jefferson Parish. It is a deadly situation to have. It doesn't take a lot for your car to have all wheels get off the road, and then you're floating next to an open canal. Very dangerous situation. So, slower than normal storm, expected a lot of rainfall, 6 to 12 inches, but possibly if the band holds over us, you could get as much as 20 inches of water. We don't know how that's going to happen. We don't know what part of the parish might have to go through that. So we want to get ready and stay inside through this event, okay? Just 2 weeks ago, River Ridge, we had 5 inches of rain in a 1.5-hour period, and we had some isolated indoor flooding. So we know how vulnerable we are if the storm hangs over us for a while. So if we do have a lot of water in the streets, we need everybody to be patient. We need everybody to allow our drainage system to do work. Again, stay off the roads, avoid driving in flooded areas. You can't see the road profile. You could get damage to your car. As I said, you could be right next to an open canal. And worst of all, you could push water into somebody's home that wouldn't ordinarily have had water in their home because you're driving through the neighborhood and causing a wake. So we need to be good neighbors. We need to be good to one another. We need to be respectful. Our Emergency Operations Center will be partially activated tomorrow beginning at 7 a.m. and until 5 p.m. And by 5 p.m. tomorrow, we will have a full activation of our Emergency Operations Center. For Jefferson Parish, our government offices are going to close tomorrow at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. will close tomorrow. We will make an announcement on the following day tomorrow after the 10 a.m. weather briefing. But transit tomorrow normally ends at 10:30 at night. We're going to suspend that service. It'll end at 7 p.m. tomorrow. So transit will run until 7 p.m. Garbage and recycling, we're going to get out as much as we can until weather permits. We're going to try to pick up as much as we can, and government offices close tomorrow at 2 p.m. In terms of COVID testing tomorrow, Alario is going to be closed, and we had a community testing site that we were scheduled to have tomorrow. That will be closed. So in terms of the parish testing, there will be no COVID testing tomorrow. We want to encourage everybody to stay informed to your local TV stations, jeffparish.net for anything you need for the parish. You can text JP Alert to 888-777. And for our Spanish-speaking citizens, JP Noticias to 888-777, which is a new service that we started this year and seems to be extremely successful. So we're going to have up a slate of speakers, and then we will be available for questions. I also want to thank Sherry. I forgot to introduce Sherry, who's become a member of our team this year, unfortunately. I don't say that in a bad way, but we have had a lot of, I've signed 16 emergency proclamations this year, so it has been a very busy 2020. So Sherry from the Deaf Action Center. So with that, I'm going to call up Mr. Joe Valiente, who's the director of our Emergency Management Services. So Joe.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, everyone. So the parish president talked about the threats that Jefferson Parish will be facing over the next 36 hours. And I just wanted to stress on one, the storm surge for the lower part of Jefferson Parish. They're talking about greater than 6 feet, possibly up to 10 feet of storm surge for that area. So we've been working closely with Mayor Tim Kerner Jr. from the Lafitte area and Dave Carmondale from Grand Isle. There's over 100,000 sandbags between both those municipalities. We pushed extra generators and pumps to both locations, and they should be setting those pumps up as we speak. So we're keeping in very close contact with those two communities because we know how vulnerable they are to storm surges. And then in conjunction with the heavy rain that we're going to receive that was mentioned by the parish president, that can only aggravate that situation. I'd like to tell you that we're participating in all the briefings with GOSEP, with the National Weather Service, and that we're conducting our Jefferson Parish leadership conference calls every day. And we're fielding questions so that we can make sure that we have total situational awareness throughout the entire parish. On the evacuation issues, we have Grand Isle has a mandatory evacuation as of 9 a.m. today. Lafitte is voluntary as of today, but tomorrow at noon, Lafitte will go to a mandatory evacuation. So our goal, hopefully, is to get as many people out of those low-lying areas so we can get them away from harm's way. So with that, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, we have Councilman Scott Walker, Councilwoman Jennifer Van Rankin, and our chairman, Ricky Templett. So I'm going to ask our chairman to come up and speak on behalf of the council.
And thank you, Madam President. Wow, what a year, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here. Most of us feel like we're stuck in that movie Groundhog Day or Deja Vu. And actually, this is the second time, too, that with all these storms that are coming forward, that we've had to have a mandatory evacuation in Lower Jefferson Parish, Crown Point, Grand Isle, Lafitte, and Barataria. But I'm here to say that Jefferson Parish is prepared and ready for the challenge before it. We roughly have, you heard the parish president say, we roughly have 192 pumps that are at the ready. All our stations are manned and ready to operate. And we have roughly 18 temporary pumps that are in Grand Isle, Lafitte, Barataria, and Crown Point. The council has been working together and keeping informed, talking to each mayor throughout the parish, and we're well protected inside the levee protective system from Lake Pontchartrain to Lafitte area, where the outside the levee protective system starts, right on Crown Point. I'm excited to be able to say my colleagues have all been staying in touch with the parish president and the EOC, and we're looking forward to making sure we try to handle this storm that's coming our way. Please heed all warnings. I know that you're tired of evacuating, you're tired of going buy gas, you're tired of going buy fuel for your truck or your car, you're buying your groceries, but heed the warnings. This storm, we have no idea exactly where it's going to go yet. Coming up the Barataria waterway, we'll be shoving a lot of water in Lower Jefferson, Barataria, Crown Point, and Lafitte. The storm that reminds me of this storm was Isaac in 2012, and it sat over us for hours. And Lower Lafitte had 6 feet of water in it. In some areas, it pooled up to like 10 feet. So please heed all warnings and evacuate, and please listen to the news, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know there's a lot of questions about school closures in the next days, so with that, Dr. James Gray from the Jefferson Parish School System.
Thank you, Madam President. For those of you who don't know, I'm newly appointed superintendent for Jefferson Parish School System. This has definitely been an interesting first 2 months on the job. But one thing that I have to say is for sure that our parents have been extremely patient with us between the pandemic and the storms. We've had to make a lot of adjustments. So we want to say thank you to you, but specifically more endearing to our teachers and our principals. They've been working 24 hours a day since we started this process in March. The hurricanes just adds another caveat that we have to contend with, but our kids are our primary focus when we make our decisions. The safety of our students and employees is our top responsibility. Based on the anticipated impact of Tropical Storm Sally, all Jefferson Parish public schools and administrative buildings will be closed Monday, September 14th and Tuesday, September 15th. All school and district activities and events during this 2-day period are canceled. Depending upon the impact of the storm, we'll make our additional adjustments, especially for our schools in Grand Isle and Lafitte. We will continue to closely monitor the situation and keep our employees and families informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. So in terms of Jefferson Parish, we have a strong public works department. You've met these gentlemen before at our last event, so I want to invite Mark Drews, who's the director of our public works department, and Mitch Terrio, who's the director of our drainage department, to talk about our preparations in Jefferson Parish.
For Tropical Storm Sally, with regard to Public Works, we're prepared and ready. And as usual, we're going to rely on our most important asset, which is our employees. We have a significant number of employees. They've been through the hurricanes Katrina, Rita, Gustav Ike, and all those subsequent storms. So they're battle tested and they're ready. With regard to our infrastructure, we're equally prepared. Our water system, we have East Bank and West Bank treatment plants. They'll be manned before, during, and after the storm. We have safe houses on site if necessary. They can go to the safe houses, and there's automation there. They can still run the system from the safe houses. In case of an extended power outage, they have generators, backup generators with a 5-day supply of fuel. Our sewer department, with its 4 major treatment plants, has similar facilities. They have the backup generators as well with that 5-day supply of fuel. Our streets and parkways departments have equipment standing by. They'll be ready after the storm. They have the capability to begin clearing the streets of debris, removing any downed trees, and if necessary, they can put out road closures for flooded streets. In addition, we have a traffic engineering division that'll be ready right after the storm that can address any traffic signal outages or any emergency road closures that need to be set up. They have that capability. With that said, most important public works for storms typically is our drainage department, and I'm going to turn that discussion over to Mr. Mitch Terrio, our director.
Just to bring up a few specifics about what we're doing today, we have 10 Vector trucks. These are the big trucks with the water tanks, vacuum hoses, and water pressure hoses that are used to clean out or suck out catch basins and drain lines. So we have 10 of those trucks, but we also have 5 or 6 crews that of people who don't normally do that on a daily basis, but they're in and pickup trucks with garbage bags and shovels. So we can inspect, several thousand catch basins in a day and clean them as necessary. As far as the pump stations, again, all pumps and all personnel are available and ready to go. We'll probably put them in full-time in the pump stations beginning tonight, so at midnight tonight. It's a little bit early, but we're going to give them time to double and triple check all of the systems and make sure that we're ready to go. And if we find anything, we'll have time in the morning to get that taken care of. So as far as the rainfall goes, there's a wide range of possible rainfall totals. We'll certainly have every pump available and pump as need be, but as the parish president said, if certain rainfall totals come, we will have some high canal levels and probably some significant street flooding. Hopefully, the total rainfall is spread over a long enough time period that we can handle it and keep any structure flooding to a minimum. So.
Thank you, Mitch. As we all know, with a hurricane storm and the winds, we are vulnerable to energy issues. So with that, I want to call up from Entergy Patrick Hamby, as well as our Public Service Commissioner, Mr. Eric Skrmetta.
Thank you very much. I'm Patrick Hamby on behalf of Entergy Louisiana. I want to assure everyone that Entergy is storm ready. We were here talking about Marco not too long ago. We've done a dress rehearsal, a dry run, if you will, and we're going through it again. We are moving our equipment to higher ground that's going to be susceptible to all these storm surges and rains and floodwaters and things like that. So we're taking care of that first. We're doing that right now. We're reinforcing our permanent fixtures, which are the substations, things like that we cannot physically move. We're putting flood protection in place so that does not have any damages as well. We are, and this is a point that I'm going to expand on, we are aligning additional crews to come in with our base load resources that we have, boots on the ground already, so that when we do get the effects of Sally, we're ready to respond when and where we need to respond. So as I mentioned, I was going to expand on that. A major part of our process is always getting additional resources in queue, having them ready, ramping up as needed. This is somewhat unique, but I'll reassure you we've been there before because we are actively working in Lake Charles right now responding to Laura. The silver lining there is we're 80% through with that restoration event. We've made significant progress. This is our starting our 3rd week of restoration efforts over there. What that means for this region is with the significant progress we've made there, we're able to roll off resources and we're moving them into this region as well to assist. We also have our local base crews I mentioned, boots on the ground that are here right now, ready to respond. The 3rd bucket of resources we have are mutual aid resources from our other utilities, Florida Power and Light, Alabama Power, so on and so forth. We had actually north of 25 states supporting us with Laura. We have that same support here for Sally as well. That being said, this situation is not new. If you think back to 2005, August 29th, Hurricane Katrina hit. We're still reeling from that, restoring power. September 24th, Rita hits. So the same scenario happened there. We adjusted resources, did not have any issues then. We do not expect to have any issues now. 2008, Gustav, Ike, same situation. We're here today, same situation, different names. We have Laura, we have Sally. We do not anticipate any resource or material problems or roadblocks at this time. The most important thing to do at this moment in time, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, is to make a plan to keep your family safe right now. It's not, you can't wait, you have to do it now. It's not a game, this is real. Get your preparations together. You have to remember a Category 1, a Category 2 storm can cause catastrophic damages. That means widespread power outages, trees on your home potentially. Have a plan in place, keep your family safe, act now and get ready. The outages could last for many days. We've experienced that and we are experiencing that in Lake Charles right now. I mentioned we're getting into our third week of restoration efforts there. 80% it has been restored, but again, be prepared. We have a wonderful website, EnergyStormCenter.com. I'll repeat it, it's EnergyStormCenter.com. You can go there and find out what you need to put in an evacuation kit if it becomes that level of a storm. It already is down in the southern portions of the state with mandatory evacuations. Make sure you have what you need when you leave so that you don't get stuck out on the streets without the proper materials for your family. I'd like to talk about a really important tip that we have on the EnergyStormCenter.com. It's generator safety. During these prolonged outage events, many people hook up generators that aren't permanently plumbed to the house. You must look at the manufacturer's instructions, make sure it's installed correctly, put in the appropriate place. Unfortunately, in Lake Charles, there have been many deaths from the deadly placement of a generator that has been very, very unfortunate. So please, EnergyStormCenter.com, there's a big tab, click on it, generator safety, heed those warnings, follow those instructions. In addition to those safety issues and tips, there's also links to keep informed with Entergy via text, email, social media. Be aware of that too. That's a wonderful resource. If we do have outage events and you do evacuate, you can keep in touch with what's going on back home. Please continue to hope for the best, be prepared, and thank you very much.
My name is Eric Scrimett. I'm Public Service Commissioner for District 1. I want to thank President Sheng for the opportunity to address you today. And one of the reasons why is because of the magnitude of the press that are here today that will cover the entire southeast part of Louisiana, because this storm is going to impact virtually every part of southeastern Louisiana. I've taken the opportunity to marshal the assets of all of the utility companies in southeastern Louisiana, Entergy, CLECO, and the couple of cooperatives, Demco and Washington St. Tammany Co-op. The important part about marshaling these assets into effectively a strike force is to make sure that we get the right number of personnel and have them in place to respond in an adequate and appropriate response. So what we're looking at right now for Entergy personnel is having an immediate response of about 1,000 personnel with a very short window backup of about 2,000 additional personnel. CLECO is going to have between a minimum of 600 but a maximum of about 800 immediate personnel with the ability to draw more through mutual aid. Washington St. Tammany will have at least 100 personnel on the floor. They will have the ability to draw back an additional 500. I expect, I haven't had the final numbers from Demco, but Demco is a much larger cooperative, so I expect to have at least double the numbers from them that we're getting from Washington St. Tammany. The important thing is that we now have in the state of Louisiana, helping in West Louisiana, 29 states and Canada have crews in the state.
All right, you have been listening to a press conference from Jefferson Parish. Lots going on there.